So yeah, the last time we talked, I think I said that Die Hard was my favorite movie, which at the time was probably a very honest answer, and it's still absolutely right near the top. But I think in the last like 20 years, especially watching with my kids, Scott Pilgrim versus the World has taken the number one slot, and it's just I just love it so much. The sensibilities and the sense of humor in that movie is just right in my wheelhouse. I just the thousands of chickens not vegan, and the L word lesbian, the other L word lesbians, like there's a gazillion of just wonderful little one-liners, and then when you throw in the editing and the filmmaking behind it, like the intentional edits, he edits like in camera, right? I mean, like the swish pans and swish pan off, swish pan on. It's just a delight. Every time I watch it, doesn't matter where the movie is when I jump in there. I'm in. I'm hooked till the end.
I agree. So 3 years ago, Scott Pilgrim was your underrated, and now it's now it's top three. Now it's number one with a bullet. By the way,
darn.
I will, and I love this. I love that you jumped right in talking about your favorites, and Die Hard is not demoted. It's just been joined by Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which I also, when you laughed, it's because I threw my arms up when you said that, because I think it is just such a special movie.
Yeah, and I love Edgar Wright in general. I mean, his movies are fantastic, but that one in particular. That one in particular is my favorite.
It's wonderful, and I don't know. Well, first I'm going to say something controversial, but first I'm going to do a late introduction, which is welcome to Discover Indie Film. You've got Brett Nicoletti on Zoom with Jeff Howard. I'm Jeff. Brett is the other voice that isn't me, and we just finished an interview all about Brett's work. He's a editor, director. Pretty much, I think the word filmmaker fits best. And Brett's films, Greg is here, and The Running Man in Pasadena both played at Film Invasion Los Angeles, that I am the head programmer of. So this is his second time on the podcast. In theory, since we always do an interview and then the 4 questions separately, this is your 4th Discover Indie Film podcast we're recording right now. So I'd like to say that makes you the returning champion.
Great. It's
good
to know.
For those who want to watch your work, they should go to Amazon Prime Video, type in Discover Indie Film into the search field, and enjoy. Your work is in season 2 and season 7. And we're good. I think that's enough introduction. Oh, yeah. And if you go to watchtv.com, you can also see the films on that streaming service and or smart TV app called Hi TV. All right. So now, editors note, every time I say Hi TV, I should have actually said TVHi. The service has been rebranded. It is called TVHi, as in watchtvhi.com, TVHi. And you can learn more about it on social media if you go to @WatchTVHi. And that's always TVHi. Back to the podcast. Die Hard, Scott Pilgrim. These are all wonderful films. I love Spot Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim. I just love the film as well. And I still kind of think the lead is miscast.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Do you have a replacement?
I am not sure who should replace, but I geeked out once with my daughter, and because I was like, some scenes, even though I think the film is perfect, and I'm blanking on his name. Can you tell me his name?
Michael Cera.
I think Michael Cera is hilarious and wonderful and great, but I don't know, maybe it's because I played bass in high school, and when he's holding that bass, it looks so awkward in his hands.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
See, I did not play bass.
Or maybe I don't see him as a fighter. Somehow Schwartzman comes off as a better fighter than him, but I still think the film is wonderful, and I'm not sure who the replacement is, but my daughter and I bothered to look at the graphic novel or comic books
Okay.
And like every other character totally matches the comic book. Like Elizabeth Winstead is totally looks like the girl in the comic book. And yet, and then he's like totally an aberration, but I have a feeling that his participation got the film made. So I should be grateful.
Probably, right? I mean, Anna Kendrick's in that movie, but that might have been a little early before she,
she was, he had, you know, a couple of the big successes. So he
was in Juno. Was Juno before that? Juno was before that.
I don't know. I should probably look him up, but he was very hot when it came out.
Yeah.
And odds are a studio, because it was so early in Edgar Wright's career, right?
Yeah. It was like after Shaun the Sheep, right? Or Shaun of the Dead. Not Shaun of the
Dead, yeah. Oh, we watched so much Shaun of the Sheep in this household about 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was like right after Shaun of the Dead, maybe, because he made a few of those, right? He made like Hot Fuzz and The World's End, but Shaun of the Dead was first, and then I think he did Scott Pilgrim second. Could be wrong about that order, but yeah, I mean, I thought Michael was great, but I'm not a guitar player, so I may that could be tainting your. Just a little bit, taking him down 10%. Maybe there was somebody who could hold that axe a little bit better.
Maybe, but I should just shut up about it because, like I'm saying, I think the film is wonderful. I mean,
I wish I could think. Oh,
you know what? It came after. Yeah, it was Superbad and Juno, and then Michael Cera did, and then Youth in Revolt and Scott Pilgrim came out after that. So yeah, after Superbad and Juno, he was.
Yeah, that's big.
Definitely helped get that thing made by adding himself. So I'll take it back. They could put
McLovin. McLovin could play Scott Pilgrim. I don't think Jonah Hill was quite there, but I think McLovin maybe right in there.
McLovin. Talk about a wonderful
cast that one. That's perfect. Perfect casting.
Absolutely. All right. Well, so and then your other three is Graduate still up there?
I mean, I love The Graduate. I mean, I was going to throw a couple other ones at you, like just some recent stuff. You know, like did you see Barbarian?
I haven't seen Barbarian yet.
Oh God, it's so good, so good. It's like definitely the I mean, we talked earlier about Oscars and how, it's hard to crack the top 10 and people talk about certain movies. All of a sudden this dialogue goes on, and I'm not promoting Barbarian as the best movie of the year, but I kind of am actually, because it's really, if you haven't seen it, it's a fantastic watch. It's on HBO now, I think. And it's just a great horror movie. And it has this amazing sort of pivot in the middle that is just like shocking, but also like fantastic and just like so fun. And it just kind of it's its own thing. It's not like a throwback to anything, but it does remind me of like when I used to watch horror movies as a kid and just like laugh and was scared, but also just kind of knew that I was on a really great ride, and that's what Barbarian. I mean, it really is a fantastic. If you haven't seen it, it's a fantastic movie. So I was going to throw that out there as a new contender.
I greatly appreciate it because actually, I didn't even tell you that our 15-year-old almost exclusively watches horror.
Yeah,
I mentioned the Spider-Man.
My son is like that. My son loves horror too, and got me back into it. And so we've since watched it and all these sort of other horror movies, and like the Paranormal Activity ones, and but Barbarian was special. Is a special horror movie.
Did you do the what was it, Fear Street trilogy on Netflix?
No.
Oh, I highly recommend it. It's very cool what they did. Okay. Netflix did a trilogy. I should look it up because it's directed by she's this wonderful director. But it's 3 decades. It's like there's I'm going to get it wrong now. But it's like the first film takes place I think the first film takes place now, and then the second film is actually a generation back to the 80s. And then the third film is like several generations back to like I think like Pilgrim Times.
Oh wow. Wow.
And it all ties together like wonderfully. I was like, this is one of the best horror trilogies I've ever seen.
Called Fear Street?
I am 99% sure it's Fear Street.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll watch it.
Yeah, we've both rediscovered horror through kids.
Yeah, there's lots of great. It's definitely like, obviously they're making horror movies like crazy now, right? So we saw X this year, which was also really good. I think it was NC-17. I think it's NC-17. It's like very, very adult. That didn't keep me from taking my 15-year-old, of course. But
good for you. But, I had to. I forget what it was, but there was. Anyway, I'll tell you later. But that's one of the joys. Not to be binary, but one of the joys of being a dad is, showing them stuff they shouldn't see. One of the joys of being a parent is like, look, I know you're old enough to watch Fight Club, so let's just do it. I'll pretend.
Think about when you were 15, you were watching When you were 15, you were watching everything, right? I mean, and they're either going to watch it with you or without you, So
yeah, for sure.
So there's some teachable moments in there, but most of the time it's just good, clean fun.
Absolutely. All right. So The Barbarian. Do you want to change your underrated?
Well, actually, I saw a documentary to get back to the spirit of documentaries. I saw a documentary called Harlan County, USA. Have you ever seen this? It's a 1976 documentary about a coal mining strike in West Virginia. And it was filmed by a female. I'm not going to say her name because I don't want to name the wrong female director, but
Barbara Koppel.
Barbara Koppel. Okay, that's what I was gonna say, but I just didn't want to say it if it was incorrect. So she shot this film on film, and 16 millimeter film, and there was a strike going on in West Virginia. I'm sure I looked it up after I saw the movie, but I can't remember why she decided to go down there, but she went down. She was living in New York City, went down. She was a 20-something, film cameras and, Nagra sound equipment, and filmed this amazing documentary about this small town in West Virginia that was striking against these coal companies that were clearly, all these workers were getting sick, like really sick, dying. Everything we know now about coal mining and, what they were saying publicly back then is atrocious, but just an amazing film and holds up today big time. And it's beautiful. The fact that it's shot on film is makes it really unique, but it's also really beautifully shot. The story is, very relevant still, with, big business versus the worker. And I just thought it was fantastic. It's definitely worth a watch. It's very findable. It's I think that is also on HBO Max. At least it was when I saw it. You may have taken it off since then. But they're definitely worth a watch for the documentary. Buffs would love it. I mean, it's a fantastic. It's different than what we're used to today because we were able to shoot all this footage and sometimes do some really high paced editing and jump from one country to another in a snap of your fingers. But this is a much more tactically filmed documentary and really professionally done and just a masterpiece.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I know you make me think of our previous chat earlier today, the podcast before this, where you talked about, having cinematographers and this and that and adding crew onto a documentary. And yeah, in the days where you had to shoot on film, the level of expertise needed around that camera was so high.
Yeah. And actually having to be economical about what you're shooting, right? I mean, it's now we can just shoot, right? And it's, dump the pull the card out, dump it onto a hard drive, put the card back in, start filming again, But when you have film and you're an independent documentary filmmaker who's not traveling to a location with, just endless supply of film mags, you have to be very economical and smart about what you're shooting, and also know that you got it, and move on, stop filming and move on to the next thing, because I can't even imagine, what they went through trying to decide, like, okay, we've spent enough time here. We're going to go to the, we're going to wrap and go to the next location. And also having to shoot when certain things were happening. I mean, there are, people who are crossing the picket line, and there are fights breaking out. And so, you still have to be loose enough that you can turn the camera on and get it when there's something important happening. But a whole different world back then. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Crazy. Well, hopefully will be partially the new technology will be responsible for a new generation of wonderfully made and more easily attainable documentary, right? Because now you're able to do what you do because technology caught up.
It's true. I would not be taking a film camera to Greg's house and rolling film and taking out the bag and switching. You have to switch the roll inside one of those silver bags, and take it out so it doesn't get exposed.
But even when it was like the cartridge, right? Like an 8mm film cartridge, pop on, pop off, Kodachrome, whatever. It still was going to be just prohibitively expensive to make documentary.
Yeah.
Amazing that they made documentary back in the days when I can remember how much it would cost to develop film when it's 24 frames a second.
Still photos.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's super expensive. And I mean, I don't know what kind of funding she had for that, or if she went and did it on her own. I'm guessing she had somebody behind her. But it couldn't have been that much. I'm sure she was sleeping on people's couches and, all that stuff. But I mean, kudos, really like an amazing achievement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, well, question number 3 is normally overrated. I don't know if you want to.
So I'm probably going to have a lot of people who disagree with me, but I actually saw Maverick this year, and I was like, I thought it felt a lot like the first one, like it was, I thought it was good, like how they practically filmed a lot of the plane footage and stuff. And, the action sequences were fun. But the story itself was kind of the same, and it didn't feel like there was much, like, I say this because the question is overrated, right? Did I think it was a good movie? Yes. Did I think it was like groundbreaking or special? And no, I don't. I think people have like fallen in love with this movie. Like it's the return of cinema, and everybody's going back to the movies now, and that's all great. I'm all for it. I'm really happy that it did really well and that people are going back to theaters. But I didn't think it was, I feel like I've heard people say that it was like, way better than the first one. I definitely disagree with that. And I thought it felt like the exact same format as the first one, aside from maybe, it's Goose's son instead of his dad. And you had the Val Kilmer story, which was interesting, with him being sick. But generally, the arc of the story was pretty much exactly the same, right down to the little sports scene they had in the middle. And so yeah. So anyway,
I appreciate your answer. I actually did not see Top Gun Maverick, and I kind of never want to. I understand it probably is a good action movie. It's a good Hollywood blockbuster action film, but it's also completely uncreative and completely unoriginal. And it's just, it's amazing that a 60-year-old man can look like he did when he was 30. But I didn't even, whatever. I have friends who would disown me if they heard me say this, but I mean, the first one wasn't very good either. They're just, they're just, they could. I remember I always thought this one they also did the same thing where like the bad guys are like some sort of generic, undefined,
yes, very generic. Yeah.
Right? They wouldn't
more so than the first one.
They would, like, I don't know. It's just honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like an obscure country somewhere in the center of, Asia and Europe.
Yeah.
But
just like
I actually love the first one. I really enjoyed it, and it's one of those movies that was in the VHS circuit. I quoted that movie with my friends a gazillion times, but they just kind of went back to the same formula. Basically, went back to the same formula with this one, and it's much slicker, and the opening sequence is the exact same opening sequence. The opening credit sequence of them on a aircraft carrier and the plane's going on. It's with the same song. It's the same opening sequence. And you're just like, really? Like, I mean, I guess they're trying to be like, kind of grab the nostalgic side, the nostalgic hook. But I was, I had seen it before, so I don't know why we're seeing it again. And it was a similar sort of deal, so he gets in trouble at the beginning and then he gets sent to Top Gun because something opens up and it shouldn't have, but now they have to send him there. Like, it's the same thing. So anyway.
I just
overrated.
I totally appreciate this chat because I almost got forced to watch it on my honeymoon cruise. And I dodged it. I avoided watching it that night that it was screening and did something else. And I'm going to have to talk my wife into seeing it without me. Cause I would like to, I am a film nerd and there are certain films I've never seen. And I think it's so cool that I've never seen them. I want to go to my grave without having, you know what? I never saw Dirty Dancing and I am going to go to and I never saw Grease. And I'm going to go to my grave having not seen Dirty Dancing or Grease. And I think I'm just glad. And I'm adding Top Gun Maverick to that.
There you go. I mean, if you're going to see Maverick, you've got to see it on the big screen. I mean, that's the best part about it is it's a total popcorn movie. Like it's, fighter planes, going 1,000 miles an hour through the sky and whizzing by you. And I mean, the sound is like spectacular, right? But seeing it watching it on television, I'll definitely never watch it again. I may watch the first one again just because for my own personal nostalgic purposes, or even like scenes of it. But the second one, I really have no interest. But people love it. Even like, I listen to the Big Picture Show. I don't know if you listen to that podcast. They love it. They love it so much. And I love that show. And I love those, the hosts, but I just disagree. I just didn't think it was that great.
Yeah, that's nothing wrong with that. All right. Well, the last question, and by the way, I love your answer from 3 years ago, but is a lesser known film for people to seek out.
So I guess that was my Harlan County hit, but
if you want, you can keep it. That you kind of made that underrated if you wanted, but that could be your lesser known.
I mean,
3 years ago you named Kids in the Hall Brain Candy.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And the Kids in the Hall now has a show on Amazon. Have you been watching it?
I am. Did we go on and on? I am a Kids in the Hall fanatic. So when they brought back Kids in the Hall and unburied them for a Prime Video series, I was one of those comedy nerds who wept during the opening credits. Like, it's just like, I can't believe it's back.
Yeah, well, they call back Brain Candy in the first episode, right? And I tried to watch it with my wife and daughter, and they were just out, like within 5. I mean, the naked dudes on the, like in the middle of the what I can't remember. We watched the first like 10 minutes, and they were like, this is stupid. I'm not watching. And so they had never seen Brain Candy before, so they didn't get the beginning. So I have not revisited that yet. But I'm going to need to, because it sounds like it's good, and I've heard that it's good. The series
is so good.
Yeah.
It's so good and inspired. I'm going to watch it again. Interestingly, I think with the new episodes, so you didn't watch all the new episodes? Didn't quite?
No, I only saw like the first 10 minutes of the first episode.
Oh, yeah. I think you got to stick through somewhere around episode 2 or 3. It really kicks in when Dave Foley plays the Shakespeare bust. Got to promise me you'll make it to the Shakespeare bust. And by the way, I'll just add for Kids in the Hall, someone who appreciates Kids in the Hall is Amazon Prime Video also has an amazing documentary about them. And then they did a miniseries called Death Comes to Town. So everyone in the world should appreciate Kids in the Hall. What can I say?
Yeah. Well, I will throw out Minding the Gap. Did we talk about that one when I was here?
No.
So Minding the Gap. I don't know how underrated this one would be or lesser known, because I think it got nominated for the Oscar for a feature doc a few years ago, but it is just an unbelievable documentary about these young boys from the Midwest who are skateboarders. And the filmmaker, when he started filming, he was 14 or 15, and he was just making skateboard videos. And then he started turning his camera on his friends, in downtime, and doing testimonials basically, or kind of off the cuff conversations. And all of his friends, their lives take, different turns, as they do for, kids in the suburbs of the Midwest. Some of them, one in particular, his girlfriend gets pregnant, and then he ends up having to get a job. And this kid kept filming until he was, 22 or 20. I think he filmed for 7 or 8 years. He was, he then interviews his mom, and I think, if I'm remembering correctly, he was abused by his mom's boyfriend for years and years. And so he has this interview with his mother where he talks to her about it and asks her like how she could let this happen to him while she was living under the same roof. She breaks down. I mean, it is just like super emotional. He's filming himself while he's filming her, cutting from the interview set with the lights to, the interview coming out of his camera. It's gut wrenching. The skateboarding footage is amazing, and it's nobody else could make that movie. I mean, it's just it's like intimate look at teenage life in the center of the country. And then all these sort of abuse stories that came out of that the teenagers who were in the film were victims of. And it's just, it's yet another masterpiece not to use that same word again, but it really, I think he's a Korean filmmaker. I don't know if you have it in front of you.
I did. I brought it up. His name is Bing Liu.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And he's with Chinese, I would guess.
Okay. Yeah. My bad.
But he did, holy moly. Oh no, he worked on big movies. Divergent.
Yeah.
And but not directing. He worked on them though. Got it.
Yeah, I think he's a cinematographer as well. But I think he also Steve James is the guy who made Hoop Dreams. He has a production company in Michigan or Chicago. And I think Bing Liu is working with him also on his projects. So, but they're amazing. Minding the Gap. It's an incredible movie. I just unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, and it's I love what you said, because one of the more rewarding things you can get out of documentary, I think, is longitudinal, like being filmed over a long period of time. I think just adds so much. It's kind of what Linklater was trying to do with Boyhood in a way in the fictional world. But yeah, to see people grow and see them throughout their lives, and have it be real. That's something that you can't do with any other medium.
No, no, no. I mean, I say that I had, 20 hours for Greg is here. This kid must have had 500 hours of film, I mean, just hundreds of hours of footage. You just, all the GoPro and the phone camera footage, and, also the properly or professionally filmed footage that as he got bigger and better cameras, because it just, and it all works, even though it's all a mishmash of all these different formats and sources. It all totally kind of works together because you're watching the story unveil in front of your eyes. And it's like, here's 8 years of teenage into young adulthood life in 90 minutes. And all the best stuff is in that 90 minutes. And it's just, the editing is fantastic. I mean, it's like really great.
Wonderful. All right. I had heard of it and I never caught it, and I believe it's on Hulu, so I can watch that soon. All right. Well,
yeah. It's worth it. Well worth it. Yeah.
I think we're good to wrap it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, people. You just got to listen to Brett Nicoletti. Yeah, I mean, you answered the Discover Indie Film 4 questions. Now you've done it in 2019 and then again in 2022. So I guess 2025, I'm going to, that'd be cool if I remember to say, hey, Brett, let's do that again. Let's see. And then you'll be like, you know what?
Run it back. Yeah.
Top Gun Maverick, #1. Not kidding.
Maybe. You never know.
One thing is for sure, and one thing I miss about, you mentioned a few times, like the VHS era, is we used to watch films more than once all the time. And now with 10 billion hours of streaming hours available to us, thousands and thousands of hours of films at our fingertips on streaming services, you never rewatch something. You never watch a film for the second time.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the VHS streaming thing or if it's just like we're adults and we just don't have the time I feel like with this being my career, like I feel like I need to watch as much as I can. And if I've seen something already, well, what am I doing going back? And it's a silly thing to say because of course you watch something a second time. I'm sure if I watch Maverick a second time, I'd have an appreciation for something that I didn't have the first time. But like my son, to bring this back to my 15-year-old son, he watches the same thing over and over and over again. Yeah. So like he's seen Friends all 10 seasons 12 times. I'm not kidding. He watches 21 Jump Street over, and just like he'll be playing, Madden on his PlayStation and Friends or 21 Jump Street or Spider-Man or whatever. Name one of 50 pieces of content, and he is doing. That's when I used to do the rewatching, right? When I was a teenager. And I had, 9 hours to kill.
I think you're totally 19th. Right. So we just have to retire. We have to retire and do no work whatsoever. And then I think you're probably right. I was going to say one of the great
and decide this is
a great joy I get out of festival programming is you watch everything at the screener level. And then when you hold the festival, I see all the films again.
Yeah.
And it really is something to watch, especially a feature, but shorts too. But to watch something twice, there's always a different experience the second time.
Yeah. I mean, one way to do it is to relive it with your kids, right? It's like, that's one way to Nate and I went and saw Jaws this past summer at the Pasadena City Hall. They had an outdoor screening and we went and watched it. And he had seen it before, but he was the one who suggested we go see it again. And Jaws, I'll go see that movie. I'll watch that movie any day of the week. I just love it. There's probably 15, 20 movies, maybe more, with both my kids that I've demanded. We're sitting down and we're watching this. Die Hard. this Christmas. We watched that over. My daughter had never seen it before, so that's one way to get it done. Is you can relive movies, but those are still the classics of our childhood, right? Not necessarily something that's been made in the last 10 years.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just mention one film as we close, which is, I know I have devoted myself because the kid didn't see it with us. I definitely want to see Everything Everywhere All at Once again.
Yeah, I said that to Nate this morning, and he was like, "No way, I don't want to see it anymore." And because when I saw it, it was overwhelming. I was a little bit overwhelmed. I was trying to catch up with what was going on, and the editing is so frenetic. I felt like I was behind most of the way, and I feel like that's a perfect example, right, of a movie that if you watch that a second time, you're gonna. Just because you know what's up now, like what the concept is, and you kind of know what they're doing, like you can then appreciate it a lot more. I still don't quite know what the bagel's all about, but but I feel like I'll get a better idea of what that is on a second watch. But I
geeked out after
literally just said that to Nate this morning. It's so funny.
That's so funny. Yeah, I geeked out after watching it, and I definitely want to watch it again because I geeked out and read reviews and trivia stuff about it, and when you watch it again, there's things throughout that refer, and actually the Google eye and the bagel are visual opposites. It's white with a black center instead of black with a white center.
Yeah.
And anyway, so heck, I'll just wrap this up.
That's good. Yeah. All right. Sounds good.
All right. So
good seeing you again, man.
Sorry?
Good seeing you again.
Good seeing you. All right. Well, here, I'll talk us through. You just got to listen to Brett Nicoletti answer the 4 questions again. Favorite films, underrated film, overrated film, a lesser known to seek out, great suggestions. And if you want to see Brett's 2 films, Running Man in Pasadena, and Greg is here, you can go to Amazon Prime Video and watch all the seasons of Discover Indie Film on Amazon Prime Video. But Brett's stuff is in season 2 and season 7. And you can also go to watchhitv.com and watch it on that service. Both films are on that service in the documentary section. And so I'll just mention discoverindiefilm.com is how you learn about the podcast and TV series. At DIF Wins is the social media for those. Sherman Oaks Film Festival is ShermanOaksFF.com and at Sherman Oaks FF on social media. Film Invasion Los Angeles is FilmInvasionLA.com and it's at FilmInvasionLA on social media. And if you want to learn more about Brett and his films, go to smile-films.com, and that'll be a clickable link on the website and the show notes. And I think we're good.
Excellent.
All right, Brett, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, and thank you everyone for listening.